not surprising at all. But children is the grown-ups of the future. That's some saying.
Quite a bold statement.
yeah, exactly. While I was thinking, man, Olav, you're impressive. Okay, so what should a person do when you're bored in Riga? Well, visit a museum and make a podcast. You are Kaspars. Can't you please tell me your full name and who you are in a short sentence?
Mm-hmm. So I'm Kaspars Zaltāns. I'm working as a curator of educational projects at the Museum of Human Anatomy, which is part of the Rīga Stradiņš University. And maybe what's important to note right away, I'm not coming from field of medicine. I'm not coming from field of anatomy, I'm coming from field of history. Because our collection, it's a closed collection, meaning we are not making new specimens, we are not buying new specimens. If you want to get rid of a human body, this is not the right address.
I see.
So what we have, it's a time capsule. All of those specimens, what you saw before, they are made between the both world wars, so 1920s and 30s. So in a way, our museum is more a story of history of science than anatomy as it's taught to the students today, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're a curator. Can you just tell me what does a curator do?
In our case, in my case, it's curator of educational projects. And education, in a way, it's a communication of the collection, of everything what we are doing. So it's guiding tours, making the content for the social networks, attracting potential partners, artists. We are a small team. We are just 6 employees in this museum, but on the average we have like 4 exhibits a year. So it's kind of like a renaissance, man. You try to do everything at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Is running a museum, is it a sustainable economic thing to do, or are you depending on money from the government or private investors?
Well, we are part of the university. So we are getting the money from the university, we budget our projects. But in Latvia, which is maybe not the hotspot of tourism, Riga is not Venice, it's not Firenze, where there are crowds and crowds. I believe none of the museums are fully self-sufficient.
I see.
Always there's some kind of a money from the state, from the city, from projects. Projects in this country is extremely important thing. But in our case, it's university.
Is it correct for me to say that maybe people are not coming here to visit your anatomy museum, but ending up here while they're first visiting Riga, maybe?
In a way.
The Louvre is a museum that you maybe go to France to see.
Mm-hmm. In our case, I think when we are traveling, and with we I mean like pretty much every second European, we go to a place X, and the 2 things what we will do automatically, we go to the National Arts Museum and National History Museum. And then we are starting to look for something more unique. So in this place, there will be the most unique, porcelain museum. In Riga, there is one of the really rare public museums for human anatomy.
Exactly.
Because it's not like the collection is really unique. In 19th century, every self-respecting university, they had anatomical collections.
Yeah.
And now there's a big discussion what to do with them. In our case, we have never been like a colonial center. It's not that those specimens are made from, colonies or something like that. It's our own ancestors. So in a way, that's giving us this privilege, in a way, to actually showcase this collection.
Do the specimens you have here have names? Do the families of the specimens know who they are?
The scientists didn't care. The kidneys are coming from Olaf, they are coming from Kaspars or someone else. When you entered the museum, there was one skeleton in quite like a prime location. That's the skeleton what we can address by the name. It's Jānis Teodors Lukstiņš, and we know the name because he's the first voluntary body donation. But most of the cases, it was the so-called unclaimed bodies. Unclaimed body means that there's no relatives, there's no colleagues, no friends, no one wants to organize the funerals. So the body, by that time legal system, automatically was given to the science.
I see.
Today, though, in Latvia, you must agree that your body is used for science.
Yeah, of course. What's the main purpose of a museum in general, and when did it originate? Why do we have museums?
Well, the museums, in a way, it's a passion project of wealthy people, if we look on European context. And there's an interesting parallel. anatomy as a science as we understand it today, that we actually take some kind of a blade, we open the body, we explore what's inside there, that's coming from the Italian Renaissance. And the museums, it's the same time period. It's wealthy patricians who are making their private collections. So it's all coming from this kind of a European curiosity in a way. But our museum, it had two kind of stages of evolution. So the collection was started in 1920. But for the most of its existence, it was quite a privileged collection. So it wasn't public access museum. It was for the med students, for the professors, for the researchers, or maybe if you knew someone who was working there, you could, like sneak in. But from the summer of 2021, we are open public museum.
I'm pretty sure that the human curiosity would end up doing something like this anyway, even though it's not medically reasonable or justified. Just to be honest myself, I've had grandparents who have died, and I've been asked, do you want to see your grandmother the last time? And I answered yes, and I have to admit that maybe half of the reason why I am saying yes is because I'm curious to see a dead body. So it's not surprising that this exists. When I was in your basement, I saw that the specimens were pretty macabre. You had some Siamese twins and some deformed fetuses downstairs. Are people getting uncomfortable on a level that you have to help them, or that you have some incidents in the museum?
You mean have someone fainted?
For example.
It's happening, but quite rare, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of a perspective, because a couple of months ago we had a delegation from Dresden, from one museum, and they said that there should be some trigger warnings in the basement. And we said but it's the same as going to the art museum, and that there is a trigger warning. You will see statues, you will see paintings. If you are coming to a museum which is dedicated entirely to the human anatomy, obviously you will see both. You will see the health and the sickness. You will see the correct way, how the nature have intended, how we are looking, and then you will see some grave errors. So, but those rare cases when someone is passing out, it's usually, like school kids. When they have their own bag of problems, probably they haven't eaten breakfast, exactly. They are stressed out or something like that. But it's really rare cases.
Yeah.
But you probably noticed when you enter the museum, there is almost like this instruction that you can make the photos in the first floor, but not in the basement.
Yeah.
It's in a way coming out of this aspect, because in the first floor, it's normal anatomy. It's the same what you have, what I have. It's the same as in textbooks. And in this century, when we have this good quality camera in our pocket, we really want to leave the digital footprint. People love to check in, that they have been somewhere. And before we opened the museum, it was a big discussion what to do with the photographies. You can make the pictures or not. And we checked the case study of Museum Frolica in Amsterdam, similar collection, and they absolutely banned photos. And what's happening with us humans, we are rebels by nature, right? And if someone is saying don't do it, you want to do it twice. So from Museum Frolica, there was coming some really unethical photos, silly selfies which are, made in dark corners or something like that. So we said the first floor, it's in a way, with huge air quotes, it's the normal human body. So it's not so concerning for the visitors. No one is fainting in the first floor, and you can make the photos if you want. Then in the basement, which can be potentially concerning to some visitors, first of all, we are not allowing the photos. And secondly, with this instruction, it's already mentally preparing you that there's a difference between the floors. First floor, it's the same as you have been taught in school. That's from the textbooks. In the basement, there can be something a little bit off.
Yeah.
So I think this little trick with the photo policy, it mentally prepares you. Yeah. That in the basement, maybe something is a little bit, potentially concerning.
It's a great way of doing marketing and getting people down to the basement. And as you said, we are rebellious as a species. So I guess what you're saying is that you want people to take pictures in the basement and not in the first floor.
Absolutely, no. Because I'm doing a little bit of a monitoring, and there have been 2 cases when there are some pictures from the basement. So
you have surveillance?
Yeah, of course.
Because I was considering in the back of my mind, should I take pictures and see what happens? But I didn't.
And those two cases when we actually noticed that someone had published pictures from the basement, I simply wrote them a direct message saying, hey, maybe you forgot. And that was the case. It simply slipped off the mind.
Yeah.
It's not like people with some malice, they are like, oh, I will make the picture.
Yeah.
No, because they actually respect the collection.
Yeah, and I think another perspective is, as well is last summer I was in a concert in Norway, the best concert I've ever been to, and I think the other people were there had the same experience, because I stood in the front and turned around, there was nobody filming the concert. If you're filming or taking pictures, at least for me, you're not present in what you're experiencing. Is it creepy here at night? Have you been staying over here at night?
It's definitely not a creepy location. It's actually extremely peaceful. Sometimes people are asking, do you have some ghosts or something like that? It's like, no, it's dead serious. No pun intended. Because, I don't know, maybe you noticed there's an art exhibit right now happening downstairs, and it's called Peaceful. And it's a pun. Peace as a piece of a human body, a kidney in a jar, and at the same time those bodies, those organs, they look peaceful. They're kind of frozen in time in a way. So no, not me, not my colleagues. We haven't had some kind of creepy feelings or so. Yeah.
If I would to be a ghost, I would be smart enough to not go around scaring people in a museum like this. I would go where they least expect it, like an ice cream store or something like that. Okay.
Actually, if I can quickly add on this, there is a stunning Latvian book called Rīga Stradiņš, translates as Witches of Riga. And it's a story where it's pretty much modern day era. There's some Latvian girls who can sense the presence of ghosts, and they are these Riga's witches. And they made a really interesting point that in a place like this, a museum, there wouldn't be ghosts, because the souls remain there where the human is passing away, not where his dead body is ending up.
Yeah.
So this witch is saying the most peaceful place for her, it's the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because no one is dying in the cemetery.
I perfectly agree. If let's say that me and you are dying right now, it's undermining the curiosity of a ghost. If the ghost is hanging around his old body, I would be going around in the women's locker room and stuff like that. Yeah. So. This might not surprise you, but I don't think anything is perfect in the world. I guess you're not perfect, I'm not perfect. This museum might not be perfect. What, if I ask you, Kaspars, what would you change or include in this museum to make it your dream museum? What does this museum lack?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we are opened only, 3 years since 2021, but still we are constantly tweaking something. Because museum cannot be a fixed entity, right? A couple of decades ago, there was a big push for digitalization. Now we are getting tired from screens. We are going back to the authentical substance. So, yeah, we are looking on the reactions from the visitors. We are checking what the specialists of the field, other museum workers, what they are saying about this place. And right now we are also thinking about changing a couple of annotations. So, yeah, it's hard to say what to improve, because we are improving, or maybe not even improving, evolving, because was that an improvement we will see maybe 10 years after this? We usually tend to think that we are always improving, but some things are just mistakes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Children is something I not surprising at all, but children is the grown-ups of the future. That's some saying.
Quite a bold statement.
yeah, exactly. While I was thinking, man, Olav, you're impressive. How do you engage curiosity in children, and how do you measure that you have had success?
When the museum was made, the idea was that the target audience is like 14 plus. So thinking men, in a way, thinking adults. But there is this kind of a surprise for us, for the museum employees. A lot of families are coming with their kids, because it's a great conversation starter. In a museum like this, you can talk with your child about what is human body, what's happening with you, how it's changing, what are the potential problems, or, it's such a nice platform to simply have a conversation. Then if we are talking about kids, it's kind of interesting. We were really making this museum thinking about adults as an audience. When we opened the doors, the first 2 visitors was a father with a little daughter. So that already showcased that, well, the kids are interested in that. This early let's say first 10 years of your life, you are interested actually in really serious science. It's dinosaurs, it's star systems, it's human anatomy. And the main question is maybe not so much about the child, but the adult who is coming with him. So if the father, if the mother, the grandma, whatever, is ready to have a meaningful conversation, museum can be the platform. So I don't think that the museum should be kind of a spoon feeding the information into the child, because this collection have never been intended for kids, but it can be a nice tool what the parents or adults can use actually.
Yeah, I totally agree. My core passion actually ending up doing this podcast is space and space exploration and what's out there. And I usually get questioned, why are you interested in space and what's out there, blah, blah, blah. And every time I'm wondering, shouldn't that be kind of the basis curiosity that we have? It's the definition of spirituality, I would mean, what's happening out there. It looks like we're in the middle of the universe. When I look at your expedition, everybody's wondering what happens after you die. So before you get to the spiritual and the religion, you can actually see here what happens after you die, either if you die young or old. And another thing is what happens before you are born. That's also a question that maybe undermines life after that. We are a species that think in linear times. I can sense now that I don't know how the sentence will end in a question or what, but curiosity and what we have, I think it's ingrained in us, and just showing what you have here, I think will be a part of sparking that curiosity. Is the reason why you work here, is that due to that? Is it a coincidence?
Yeah, that's a tough question. What kind of a life choices led me here? But as I said, I'm coming from the field of history, and one thing what I was always kind of interested into, it's the cultural heritage. Maybe not the most important battles of the First World War or things like that, because usually people stereotype a field of history. They think it's all about the military history. I was more interested what are the things which are left behind, you know, what we consider worthy enough to preserve to the next generations. Sometimes it's just a coincidence, what survives, you know, like from archaeological digs, we are getting what we are getting. We are getting burial goods and garbage in reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I started to work here, some of my old study mates, they were like, hey, are you not feeling kind of out of your comfort zone? It's, you know, like anatomy, it's soft tissue. And I'm like, no, that's actually history. It's a time capsule. It's
actual history in a way. Yeah.
We are talking about what was happening 100 years ago in the science, and in every science.
It's a long time in regarding science and the method of science.
Yeah, and that's why we are showcasing in the exhibition not only historical specimens but also historical research methods.
Yeah,
it's closely tied together with the national awakening of Latvians. Because the museum was started in 1920, the country is established 1918. So it's pretty much the first moment when professional Latvian scientists are researching themselves.
Yeah.
It's not a perspective coming from Imperial Russia or whatever. It's kind of this self-respective kind of exploration.
If you were to have a time machine and go back to a year, what kind of year would you, if you have one chance, what kind of period would you go back to?
Well, there is this interesting...
from the creation of the earth to today.
There was this interesting trend on TikTok a couple of weeks ago when people were talking about in which century I would love to live. And I would say all of them were bad. It's just constantly bad.
Yeah.
You know, I will go to like...
Choose last year.
Yeah, right? Yeah. When I have still my Netflix subscription.
Yeah, after antibiotics and morphine.
Precisely. Yeah. But I don't even know.
It's always been remarkable to me that all the history books, let's say, the history of the late Norwegian history, Latvian history from 5000 BC to year zero. That's kind of one book or two books. The closer you are to the present, the more books it is. So the last 10 years has like 20 books. So again, the geocentric, narcissistic view of who we are is always concerned on the present in a way. I would like to go back 56,000 years ago and just live there 1 year. Nothing happened. The same 50,000 years after, 30,000 years before.
Yeah, maybe to see the dinosaurs, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But maybe not for
5
like
days
a
before.
year. 1 year would be a little bit, I would be starving probably, and I would be food.
Yeah, and too much oxygen, so you would be
like
poisoned in a way. It's
half an hour, quick vacations with dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. And the insects are terrifying.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, and maybe we should wait 10 years so we know exactly when the meteor hits. So we can choose that year before, and 3 days before we will send back. Kaspars, thank you very much for lending your time to me. This has been
Thanks
amazing.
for having me.